Okay, welcome to episode 2 of building an electronics component storage unit. I'm going to start with drawing the sides now for the actual carcass. So again, we're going to create a new file into metric, standard millimeters, and we're drawing a part again. Click on create, and this time now we're going to start with doing our 2D sketch again using our 2-point center rectangle. Okay, and I move my mouse into the middle of the crosshairs and drag down. And for this one, we're going to make it 1200 long by about 160 wide. Okay, and the 1200 may change later, but I'll see how it fits with my the door and also with all of the shelves that are going to go into it. So the door, I'm looking to put a roller door, so I will need to have a track cut up here to come back down again on the other side, which I'm going to work on now after I turn this into a 3D shape. So finish sketch there, go to 3D model, extrude, get it to extrude either side of the central plane, and I'm going to make the material thickness now for this one 18 millimeters. Okay, now I need to sketch. I'll do a corner or a 2-point rectangle this time on that surface there. I'm going to start down from this bottom corner and bring it up to this top corner up here. I'm going to click on offset, and I'm going to offset that in about 13 millimeters. Okay, now that I've done that, I can offset that. I can offset this in, but before I do that, I'm going to delete the outside rectangle that we just drew. Sorry, I'll keep it in place just for the time being. What I'm going to do is draw a line down here at the bottom. So because I've got a track which is going to go on the inside in here, right? So I'm going to have exactly the same polyline running along the inside of this line here. The outside one I'm going to keep there because that's where the back of my cupboard's going to be. So I've drawn a line here. I'm going to offset that up a little bit from the base, just to get me away from the base a little bit. So if I go up about 25 millimeters, and I'm going to offset up again another 100 millimeters. Okay, there's no fixed reasoning for this, it's just some nice numbers that I liked. So this time I'm going to click on a 3-point arc. I'm going to start my arc here. I'm going to have my arc finishing at this point here, and I'm going to give it a radius of about 600. Okay, so the reasoning for this is I need to be able to slide the door in, and I don't want to have that opening at the front, so I'll hide it at the back. Okay, so what I'm going to do now then is delete the parts that I don't need, which are those. I will trim away this section of the line and this section, and I'm going to create an offset now of that polyline in, and I'm going to make that offset about 6.5 millimeters, which is the thickness of the router bit that I'll be using. I'm going to click on extend and extend that slot down to there. Okay, the next thing I'm going to do is offset this line here up 18. I don't need that line or that line. I've just noticed something. Okay, The reason I've done this 18mm part here is I may use that for a base at the bottom. In actual fact, I'll just delete it for the time being. And I'm going to sort out what's happening at the top here. So what I need to do, sorry, I'll delete that again. I want to delete this polyline here as well because I missed a step. I need to round the top up here. So to create a radius here for the door so that it can actually slide up, roll around and come back down at the bottom. So what I'm going to do there is first of all find the dimension of this line here, and it's 134. So what I'm going to do now then is draw a circle with a center point here, 134, and press enter. I am going to do another circle now, and this is the only purpose of the first circle, is to find the center point for the second circle. That's going to be 134 again. I'll click on the top circle and delete it now that I don't need it anymore. I'm going to trim away the parts that I don't need here and here, and the same thing on this side, and then trim away this. The next thing now I need to do is my offset. So I can now offset this in the 6.5 that I wanted to do the first time, and that's now created the roller part at the top. How far down that goes at the front will be determined by where the base is going to be. I can offset that up 18, but I am most likely not going to really worry about that section down at the bottom, because wherever the last shelf falls, I would most likely like to have a dowel running through at this point to keep all of my wire on, okay, the spools of wire. So I'm going to put it in here at the minute just to finish off this part, but I probably will change it again later at some point. So I'm going to extend this curve down to meet that line, and I need to delete that part, and that part. Now the bottom section here, the only reason I needed that line is to just close off this front section here. Now I've said 18 because that's the thickness of the side, so if I use the same thickness material for the bottom, that was my reasoning for 18. So if I click on trim now and trim away these parts here on the outside as well, that should then close off that sketch. Just delete them now. Okay, go to 3D model, click on extrude. I've got an enclosed boundary, which is great. I'm going to get it to cut in, and usually now if you're cutting any kind of joint into a piece of timber, you go to 1/3 of the thickness of the timber. So if I've got 18mm, then I'm looking at about 6mm in depth. 3/6 are 18. In this case, I'm going to up it till about 9mm, just so I've got enough surface area to stop the roller door from actually slipping out. So I feel like 9 might be a better option for this. So that's what I'm going to go with. And that there is going to be one of the sides for the carcass. Now the next section in this part is going to be drawing all of the little housing joints for the shelves. So let's get stuck into that now. And I'm going to click on a 2-point center rectangle, and I'm going to draw on this surface here. Now to start, I'm just going to start in the middle here and work my way up, and we'll see how we end up. We can always move all of these sections of the drawing later. So I'm going to make it 100 wide. That's the size the drawer was, and the thickness for this I'm going to make it about 12mm. They're not going to be super heavy, so that should be plenty. I'm now going to draw a line straight down from there at 50 in length. And the reason for that is I can copy that polyline there and select a base point of down here. And if you can remember correctly, the drawers were 45 millimeters in height. Okay, so it leaves me with 5 millimeter gap at the top, which I'm happy enough to have that. Okay, my box is in the way there now. Okay, so and I'm just going to drop these, drag them and drop them up. Now there is a quicker way of doing this, which is using the rectangular array tool, but I think really by the time I've got these copied up, I'd probably have just worked out all of the selections for the rectangular array, so it's probably just as quick really to do it this way. Now, by not selecting this line as part of the copy, it hasn't copied it here and here, so I don't have to delete those later. Okay, I'm going to delete that now for a little second, and I'm going to do a little check up here and see what's happening. So if I go down to this line here, and I bring it up and measure the distance to the top of that line there, I've got 18 millimeters. Now that means I can effectively drag this all up by 18 millimeters. Okay, the top one I'm probably not going to, I'm actually going to move everything up and delete this top housing joint, because it means I've got more space at the top then for other bits and bobs, utilizing the space as much as I can. So what I'm going to do then is click on move, drag a box around everything. I'm going to select a base point, which is going to be there. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah. And drop it up there. Now, I'll just double check that my measurements haven't moved out of line. So if I measure from there to there, 10.419, and measure from there to there, 10.581, which means I should have 10.5 on both sides, really. 0.5. So I'll need to do that on each of these. I just noticed that that's 12.378 as well. That should be 12. Okay. Right, what I'm going to do then is dimension from here to here. Right, 10.5. I'll delete all of the ones below it. And do the same thing what I done the last time. I'll just copy this whole rectangle. I'll use a base point, which is going to be this one here now at this stage. Drag it down, drop it on that corner, and just continue that down until I've got 10 spaces. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 at the minute. 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Okay. Now then, let's do another couple of these rectangles. This time I'm going to copy the exact same one down again and use the same distance, but I'm going to show you how to space it then, right? So I'll drag this down here, the exact same copy, and I'm going to now use the dimension tool. Click on this line, click on this line, and say that I need that dimension to be 100. It didn't work out the way I wanted it to. Didn't actually copy right either. Let's try that again then. Or see if we've got another way of doing it. We'll just drag out a rectangle here. Make sure it's 100 by 12. If I dimension the bottom of that to the top of that, keep that there, And now dimension from there down to there. Say that that needs to be 100. That brings it up now back into line. And I can copy each of these using that base point down and doing the exact same thing as what I did at the top. And we'll see now where I rest down at the bottom. So click on done. I think that gives me enough space. I'll just double check here and see where I'm at. So if I click on there to there, it gives me about 55 millimeters for a spool. It depends now what size the spools are, but 55. If I can get a radius spool less than 55, I should be okay. Right, brilliant. Let's get this turned 3D and cut those little housing joints out. I'll delete this top one first of all though. "3D model, extrude, and extruded cut in each of these. And that's going to be 6 this time. I'm clicking OK. Brilliant. Now, as far as I'm concerned, at the minute, that is one of the sides completed. Okay, so I'm going to File, Save As, and save that into my folder now. Okay, I'm going to call this here, sorry, I'll move it back. I'll set up another folder for that in a minute, but I'll call it left. Okay, now very quickly I'm going to show you how to do the right hand side of this as well. Okay, so the right hand side is going to be exactly the same. We've got all of these little drawers or housing joints all done in the middle, so the only thing really that we need to change is going to be this groove that we're running on the outside. So let's see if there's a quick way to do that. Yeah, right, first of all we're going to try and use this part as best we can. So File, Save As again, and this time we're going to call it right. Now I can't use the I because it's going to mess up one of the hotkeys I'm using for recording this, so I'm just going to call it R for the time being. Right, now then, what I'm going to do then is back into here. I can just drag this up, so I'm stuck in this here drawing again. I can right click on Sketch and go to Edit Sketch. I can draw a line. I can draw a line down the middle here. I can use the mirror tool and select everything that I want to mirror. Click on a mirror line and get it to select that one. Press Apply. And then it has drawn it exactly in the same place as where it was on the other side. So if I delete this side now, and delete this side here, if I extend that one there down and delete this line, delete this line, I've got something sitting there, I don't know what that is. Okay, let's see. Oh, that's the radius for this. That's okay. Right. So finish the sketch. Errors during update. Okay, accept. Okay, let's see what those are. So we'll try and do an edit feature. Okay, so we've got an open boundary. Let's try and close that lip there. And finish. Select curve is connected at the start. Okay. Close the gap. See what that looks like now from the front, because it looks like it may have jumped a little bit. Yes, it has. Okay, let's go back. Right, let's retry. Okay. Trail number 2. Let's copy everything. Select a base point. I'm going to use this one. And hopefully, I'll be able to flip this around. And mirror everything there. Around that point. And apply. If I draw a line from the center point of that circle, I can use that as my base point. And now I should be able to move and drop that into place. Like so. Okay. A little bit long-winded, but we got there. Right then. I can now just drag this back down again, and there's all my little parts back into place. I've called this OR, so I'm just going to press save, and that is now the sides completed, done. Next part, we're going to look at the tops and bottoms, and we're going to look at doing the shelves, and we'll be almost there then at that stage, believe it or not. Cool, see you next video.